My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. So let's talk about last night's presidential debate. I want to start off with two questions. Let's start it from this. So I take into this a bodybuilding perspective. So how do you know a bodybuilder is a loser on and off stage? And the answer to it is that it's when they walk off the stage that the first thing they do is start to complain about the judging instead of looking at their own deficiencies and instead of looking at ways that they can get better. Again, they just blame the judges. So what did we see last night? First off, Donald Trump starts complaining about the moderators. All of his supporters complaining about the moderators. All of these people on Fox News complaining that it's 3-1 and he shouldn't have been fact-checked and all of this kind of stuff. Again, all of that is symptoms and behaviors of a loser. Another question, why doesn't Donald Trump have to practice for debates? And he's very proud of not practicing for debates, and it obviously showed. I mean, he couldn't put any type of sentences together for any type of plan. He had no way to actually debate Kamala on these issues, and he's very proud of that. Why doesn't he have to be better? It's because his supporters don't care either way. It's not like they judge him for being deficient in any way and he has to pick up the pace and to get better. They don't care. It's like he said a long time ago, and it's one of the smartest things I think a politician has ever said. Donald Trump said he could pick up a gun and shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and he won't lose any support. And that's true. And if it is true that his supporters are like that, and it definitely seems to be like that, then why should he ever have to get any better at anything? So let's get into this a little bit more. The show before the debate, I talked about gish galloping, which is a series of lies over and over again to where the person you're debating can't really talk about what they want to talk about. And this happened last night, but Kamala did an excellent job of answering to where he lied, and then she went directly into what she wanted to talk about. So I thought she did a really good job. Now, when we're looking at the fact-checking, of course, a lot of these Republicans are complaining that they have fact-checking. Now, that's another sign that you're a loser, because if you're complaining that they actually did fact-checking, then why are you even there? Like, you're just there to lie. Now, you could say that they would want Kamala Harris to be fact-checked more. And here's the unfortunate situation for them. She actually was, but she wasn't lying. There was one part where she did put in a lie. She was talking about that when she took over with Joe Biden, they said the unemployment rate was at it was at 6.4, which is as high as it's ever been since the Great Depression. That's not true. I don't know if she said it as a lie, and let's even say she did, but the 6.4 was as high as it ever was since the Great Recession, when a Republican was in office, by the way. So she meant to say, or should have said, the recession, not depression. So that's as far as it gets in terms of one of her lies. But in terms of Donald Trump, they were up to about 33 lies. And I couldn't keep up. I couldn't write them all down. Like, there was just too many. He was fact-checked a couple of times. So in reality, he wasn't fact-checked enough. And again, that's gish galloping. You keep lying, and nobody can keep up with it. And so he did a good job of sticking to his lies. Even when he was corrected, he still didn't go along with it. So let's talk about some of these interesting things. So I want to read this one part because there's no way that I was going to remember all this. And there is no possible chance that you would think that a person running for president would actually say this. Here it is. This is a direct quote. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country. And look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. Not going to be Aurora or Springfield, whatever that means. A lot of these towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. What? The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating, and they're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. You gotta be kidding me. Okay, so this guy hears one of his QAnon supporters or goes into the deep, dark recesses where nobody has any IQ, and you go to that part of the internet, you get a conspiracy theory, and he literally will say it out loud to an international audience. How sick. So again, and what one of his supporters is actually going to try to say that that's okay. You are going to try to justify that type of stupidity. It gets worse because of course he has to say the Haitian immigrants are eating cats and dogs. Of course, so we got to add in that they're black people. Again, so here's the other thing about Gish galloping. One of the problems is that when you say a lie, again, in order to combat the lie, you have to go into it and you do have to talk about it for a second. The other thing is that the lie said long enough and as many times as you can, what it tends to do is people tend to start to believe it. So here was the thing. There is a difficulty with Kamala Harris even trying to win this debate because there's a perception. Now, the perception out there is reality to people. Reality is not reality. It's the perception is reality. And one of the perceptions is that the economy is not doing well. The economy is doing well. So in order for Kamala to actually win that part of the debate, she would actually have to lie. She would actually have to tell everybody that the economy sucks so she can commiserate with other people and show empathy and then talk about her policy. But in doing so, she's lying because the economy is actually really good, and we've talked about this before. So she had a lot of extreme hurdles to jump over, and she did it really well. So let's talk more about what Donald Trump said as being a person running for president. He said people are being let out of insane asylums, and they're causing the crime rates to go up in the United States while the crime rates are going down all over the world. So we're taking all of their people from their insane asylums and stuff. He continues to talk about this, and I was very glad that he got fact-checked on this because crime rates in the United States have been going down for over 30 years. There was a little blip during the pandemic, which Donald Trump, during his time, the crime rates went up. They're going down now, and again, they're at record lows. And he kept trying to say this lie over and over again. And his supporters, I don't know, I don't want to call all of them stupid, but they literally are, because all you have to do is fact check it just for a second. And then you start saying, but the FBI doesn't have the right numbers. So now we're going to go against the FBI, right? Because the FBI doesn't count the cities like Chicago that they want to talk about. Again, it's just insanity on that side. What else did he talk about? He was trying to move into this inflation and that part. But here's something that's interesting. Once again, inflation is not that high. It's about 2.9, but here's the crazy thing. Just today, inflation has moved down to 2.5%. It's right where it should be. It would be nice if it was 2, of course, and it is trending that way. But there is no problem with inflation right now. Again, 2.5%. And what's going to go along with that is that interest rates are going to go down in September. So we're already in September. So by the end of this month, you're going to have interest rates go down too. And you just know that he is rooting for these numbers to be bad. I think he said, we're the United States, we're in a country in decline. By the way, our economy right now, coming out of COVID, which was very difficult for every single country in the world, we have the #1 economy in the world. So where are all the complaints coming from? Well, Trump and his supporters, because they just don't see reality. What else did Donald Trump talk about? Did he talk about you? Did he talk about a plan? This is another thing. I love when these Trump supporters do this. They go, well, Kamala doesn't really talk about her plan. She literally did about 3 or 4 times talk about what she wants to do about her opportunity economy. She's mentioned it over and over and over again. And she needs to do it more until people actually hear it. But what did Donald Trump talk about? Did he have a plan? No, he didn't. He did talk about crowd size, though, which was really weird. Uh, let's see, he was trying to talk about Ukraine. It was a direct question. Do you want Ukraine to win the war? He couldn't say yes. Now, why couldn't he say yes to Ukraine winning the war? Because he wants to be a dictator and he loves Putin, and so therefore he is pro-Russia. Now, they're not our ally. So we're allies with the Ukraine, but he doesn't want to have anything to do with that. So when Donald Trump says we'll be out of this mess in like a day, he's not talking about peace, right? Like if you're a person out there that just says, I want peace, I don't want to have war at any cost, and so I'm just against war, I don't have any problem with that. I don't think most people would have a problem with that. But that's not Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not this peaceful guy that just doesn't want to have anything to do with wars. He just doesn't want to have anything to do with a war with Russia because he looks up to Putin and doesn't want to get into that. And so what happens if you don't defend Ukraine? Russia easily says, you know what, I'm going to move into the rest of Europe. I'm going to take over Poland. I'm going to take over whatever country I want. Does Donald Trump care about that? No. So he is covering for Putin. He's not doing this because he's a peaceful guy and is just all about, love and kumbaya. That's not true. Also, what did Trump do? He had multiple times to talk about the border, and all he did was throw it all on Kamala and say, you're the problem, you're the problem. When faced with the thought that there is a bipartisan border bill written by very conservative Republicans that everybody agreed was going to pass, and this was what was going to be done, Donald Trump makes a bunch of phone calls to say, listen, I need there to be a problem at the border. Do not fix this. So why didn't he talk about this during the debate? And he had multiple chances to do it. It's because it's obvious. Let's take the first part of this. Okay, there have been some executive orders done. The problem at the border has already been reduced by about 30 to 40% already. I'm not saying that there's not a problem there, but it's been incredibly and greatly reduced. Do we want to talk about that? For some reason, he doesn't want to talk about it. He also doesn't want to talk about the fact is that Kamala Harris, if she was voted in as president, she will sign that bipartisan border bill. Is the problem completely solved? I don't know. Nobody knows. But at least there will be some forward direction in fixing it. Donald Trump has a vested interest in not fixing the problems. This guy is like an arsonist that just wants to set things on fire and go, I'm the one with the water, I can fix it if you let me. But he's the one causing the problem. This thing has been held up, and it's being held up because of him. So what did he say about abortion? This is insane. I don't even know, again, how is it possible that a Trump supporter would actually still support him? He said that babies are being killed after they're born. Okay, let's do the math on this, okay? If a baby is born and you're going to do an abortion, that's not an abortion, that's called a murder. There is nowhere in the United States at all, in any way, shape, or form, that murder is okay in the United States. There is not probably one person ever that you could ever find that is pro-murder. Now, there is 0 people in the Democratic Party that are insisting that you're allowed to kill babies after they're born. It's never happened, will never happen. Nobody's talking about that. That's something that he keeps making up. And even during a fact check, he still is hammering down on that. That shows you the monumental stupidity of this guy. I don't even know, in a sense, is it stupidity or he has such cognitive decline. He doesn't even know what he's saying anymore. He's like this old guy that's just angry and always just yelling at the clouds somewhere. I can't imagine that on a stage like that with millions of people watching, probably from all over the world, he has the guts, the stupidity to say such a thing. That's not happening. So what else did he say about abortion? He said he wouldn't veto a national abortion ban. So now he's trying to sit on all of these sides, right? Like he's like trying to throw in a little bit. Maybe we want to throw it to the states and let them figure it out. And this is the way the Democrats wanted it. No, that was a lie too. He's lying to every single person in America, especially women. Let's go a little bit further with this. Whenever you hear a Republican say, let's let the states figure it out, that's an old dog whistle that people used to use for slavery, because they would say it's not a slavery issue, it's a states' rights issue. And the reason why they did that was because places like Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, you know the kind, they wanted to make it that, okay, you could have the United States, but it could still be legal for slavery in some of those southern states. And that's why they wanted to put it to the states to figure it out. So they would talk about states' rights. It was a states' rights issue. When that's a euphemism, it's not true. It was about slavery. And this is about abortion. It's not a states' rights issue, no matter what he is trying to say. He made a very concerted effort to look at judges to be able to do this, to reverse Roe v. Wade. And that's true. So let's see, this show's about 17 minutes long. So let's do a quick review. I don't even know what Donald Trump was saying half the time, between eating dogs and cats and talking about crowd sizes and lying over and over and over again. He's sick, he's deranged, he's an old narcissist with cognitive deficiencies. That's the way it is. I can't imagine a human being voting for that guy. You know, and again, Kamala did a really good job of talking about what she wanted to do and how she wanted to do it, but she also threw it in that, yes, he was adjudicated for sexual, I guess you would call it sexual assault, which is a rape. He also had 34 felonies, and he didn't want to talk about that at all. You know, it's interesting too that when it came down to January 6th, he had no regrets about that. So you're talking about a guy running for president that had no regrets about trying to overturn an election. That should scare you. And the fact that he has no remorse, no regrets, nothing. And this really comes from the thought of he's a malignant narcissist psychopath that just doesn't care about human beings at all. He just wants his name up in lights all the time. So anyway, that's, I can't imagine. If you thought that Donald Trump won that debate, yeah, you might not even have the cognitive ability to even vote yourself. I mean, I can't imagine what would be going through somebody's head to think that he won that debate. He was angry, he was annoyed, he couldn't look at her. Kamala even started off the night by walking way past where because she didn't even, he didn't meet her in the middle even. He had to go over and shake her hand, and she actually introduced herself, which I thought was very professional, being that they've never met each other before. And he just acted like a typical trust fund baby child that's just a petulant, angry kid that's never really been pressured or put through any adversity. You saw it last night. He was absolutely horrific. Anyway, my name is Joe Peroni. This is the Rise Above Project. Please subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.